Don't get bent, be aware. Marisha, let's give her a hand of applause. Thank you so much. I'm coming for the second time, but it feels like it's the first time. And I'm looking and saying, I need to fix this, I need to fix this. So we are ready for property inspection. Oh, look at that one. Over to you.
Oh, yes. Well, my client, the lady, saved 350,000 Rand when she bought this house after we found major damp in the house. And in this case, Jane walked away from this transaction because it was a total disaster. It was a student accommodation in Pretoria, and I will give you more details about this one later. And Tuso bought the bargain of the year. Nobody wanted to buy this property. Everybody thought, oh, it looks so terrible, but it was all just superficial. Why do you have a property inspection done? Because you can use the report to negotiate. You must remember that when the seller is selling his house, he says, there's nothing wrong with this house. My house is perfect. The agent is also bullying you because the agent is saying, listen, this seller will never accept this low offer you want to put in because there's nothing wrong with the house. And why is the agent doing that? Because they want a big commission. That is why. And then thirdly, you are being bullied by your emotions. If it's a house for you that you want to live in, you think, oh, I'm going to have such beautiful birthday parties, and the Christmas tree is going to go there, and going to plant this garden and everything, and you don't look, you walk into house and oh, lounge suite there, going to change those curtains. That's not how you look at a property. And if it's an investment property, you see all the money. Oh, I'm going to make 35,000 Rand on a multi-let, says Percy. Wow. But you don't look at what is actually going on in the house. And that is why you need an inspection report. Because you go back to the agent and the seller and you say, hey, Mr. Seller, your house is not as perfect as you think. There are four major problems in South African houses: roofs, damp, cracks, and stormwater. And those are the ones that can cost you a lot of money. Now, when you arrive at a house and it's been newly painted, you might think, yay, I don't have to spend money on painting this. But that's a problem. Because if you look at the wall from the side, you will see that they patched some cracks here, and those cracks are going to come back. Here, they just painted over the damp, and the damp has already started appearing again. So my name is Marisha Robus. I'm the owner of Gauteng Property Inspections. I'm an ABISA Certified Master Inspector, which is the National Association of Building Inspectors of South Africa. I'm also an ITC Certified Roof Inspector, which is the Institute for Timber Construction. I'm the only female property inspector in the country. I am also the only female roof inspector in the country. And none of the other men in this business have my qualifications and have my experience. So ladies, this I find in multi-lets normally, and as well as in student accommodation. Now, any room must have natural ventilation. Otherwise, you've got to have mechanical ventilation. Mechanical ventilation is allowed in bathrooms and toilets. This toilet had nothing. This is the property of Jane, which she eventually walked away from. The toilet pipe from the next door bathroom came into this toilet with the vent pipe sticking out there. And I'm sure everybody will agree with me, this is not a waterproof plug, okay? Plugs are not allowed in bathrooms, and sticking sellotape over it does not make it waterproof. The seller declared that there were no leaking water pipes, and there was no damp. So they repaired this leaking water pipe with a plastic bag and then packed bricks around it. I don't know if the bricks were supposed to stop the water, but it obviously didn't. This was another problem in that house. The one room only had windows that opened into the passage. You can see the bar they put across the window because they didn't want them to open the windows big so that people bashed into them. So that room only got that little bit of ventilation through that window, and the student was staying in that room. This was the window of one kitchen opening up into another kitchen. Very illegal. Now the biggest thrill for a property investor is to buy the worst house, a house like this, with all of these problems. Why? Because you can get it cheap. People don't know when to do maintenance, and they don't know how to do maintenance, and then they don't do maintenance. So I'm busy recording a maintenance program. I'm almost done because I get so many phone calls from people. Please help me with this. How do I do that? And I can't help everybody. So I'm now going to put a maintenance course on video to give you all the details. There'll be more than 30 hours of video. So if you want to do your gutters, you go to the gutter section and watch that video. Now, damp is the biggest problem in South African houses, and that is due to a construction error. Now, I'm not going to go into great detail, but when I do an inspection for you, I will detail the damp and what the builder did wrong. But I have, in the last 5 years, I do an average of 5 to 7 inspections a week. The last 5 years, I found one house that didn't have damp. One house. If you have damp in the passage, it's a problem. So what's normally the story? There's normally a bathroom on the other side of this wall, and the shower wasn't waterproofed, or the waterproofing has failed, or they didn't waterproof the floor. And that is a big issue. You can't just scrape off this and just paint over it. You've got to repair the damage on the other side. Cracks is another issue. Do you know that there are 15 different types of cracks? And you do not fix them with polyfiller. Please don't buy polyfiller. It is the worst product out. So these are grazing cracks. They are because the mixture when they plastered was wrong and they over-troweled the walls. So these are just ugly. They started to turn black due to water ingress. They're not serious, they're not going to damage the structure of the house, it's just ugly. But when the plaster cracks start looking like this, and the weeds and the grass and everything growing in it, then you're going to have problems. This is a structural crack. This is serious, and you have to get a professional to repair it. They will have to underpin the foundations. And this one is quite a sad story. My clients contacted me, they bought this house, and within 3 months, this crack opened up. So when we started investigating, I said to them, first of all, who was the engineer who signed off these additions? And we then found out that there were no building plans at the town council. So that is illegal. Because what happened is this seller added a main bathroom and bedroom and no building plan. So there was no engineer that signed off the foundations, and we had no recourse because now you've got proof that the building was built wrong. But luckily it was within the first 2 years of the client taking transfer, and my client could cancel the sale because the house was sold fraudulently, because you said everything that's there is on a plan, and it's illegal to build without municipal building plans being approved. So please be very careful. One of the things I tell my clients is you have to make your offer subject to approved building plans being provided. Remember, the banks are nowadays also asking for building plans. So if you don't say, put in the offer, I want approved building plans, and your bank comes back, yes, we'll give you a bond, but we want building plans, it's your money that's now going to pay for the building plans. You're now going to have the building plans done. So make your offer subject to building plans. Roof problems are expensive to repair. This seller declared that there were roof leaks, but she has fixed it. But sometimes the roof still leaks. I climbed on top of the roof and this is what I found. This is not how you repair a roof, no wonder it was leaking. This is a big problem. Please remember, if ever you buy commercial buildings, this was a commercial building, an office block in Woodmead, Johannesburg. When you buy a commercial building, they must provide you with a roof certificate from an engineer. Commercial buildings require their roofs to be inspected annually. In this case, I climbed into the roof. I saw this king post. This is the main big post in the middle of the roof truss. Was pulling out. There were actually 4 trusses which were pulling out like this. I climbed out. I got the manager. I said, evacuate immediately. Get somebody in to come and support these trusses. They evacuated, and before they got people in to bring supports the following day, one of the trusses collapsed. So if you buy a commercial building, in your offer to purchase, you say, I want your latest engineer certificate for the roof. It is a requirement. The other thing is these people did not have the roof inspected regularly, and insurance wouldn't pay. You must remember, insurance is fine print says, if you don't do maintenance, and if your building is not according to national building regulations, we don't pay. This poor client had a big problem. He asked me to do a maintenance inspection for him. And after I'd been through the whole house and everything, took my ladder, I was going to climb into the roof. He says, why are you going to climb into the roof? I said, how can I tell you what maintenance to do if I haven't checked the roof trusses? Climbed in, I saw this. Brand new plastic under the tiles, all the scorched plastic lying on the floor, and burnt trusses. Oh, not on the floor, on the ceiling. So I said, I said to the client, when did the roof burn? He says, what are you talking about? I've been in this house for a year and nothing has happened. I said, phone the estate agent and ask the estate agent, when did the house burn? Don't say did it, just say when. Phone the estate agent who had worked in that area for 15 years, and the estate agent was, yes, there was a fire, it might have been that house, and so the seller was in New Zealand. So my client luckily knew who was the seller's bank, and we contacted the bank, told him about the story, because according to me, 3 of the trusses had to be replaced. The bank said, we got to the insurance, they said, no, but 8 roof trusses had to be replaced in that roof. We paid the contractor to replace 8 roof trusses. Well, my mate come and check, only 5 were replaced. 3 roof trusses were not replaced. Luckily, the insurance was honourable and they came and sorted the roof out. But if my client, if he had got me to do an inspection for him before he bought the house, he would have known about these roof trusses. Okay? When you go and view property, you don't climb into the roof, you don't climb on top of the roof. I'm a terrible property investor because I arrived to view a house with my damp meter and my ladder and everything, and the agents don't like that one little bit. Asbestos roof sheets is a problem. Not as much in Gauteng area. KZN and Cape you get a lot of it. Now, the government wants to phase out asbestos. They're never going to do it, but the law states that if asbestos is not broken and it is painted, it's okay, you can have it. So one tip I want to give you, if your house, the property you want to buy, was built before 2003, you've got a very good chance that you've got asbestos in that house. Because up to 2002, they still imported cheap asbestos products from Zimbabwe. After 2003, you won't have any asbestos. So you can have asbestos ceilings, roof sheets, carport sheets, window sills, and those things, they're fine until they break, because then the asbestos fibers are set loose. Now, Vusi earlier said, wish somebody could write a book and put it all in. Here's a book for you. It's called The Proud Homeowner. It was written by my father, and after his passing, I have now edited it. So in this book, We have everything on when you build a house or when you do alterations, how you must do it, what you must look out for. We have a complete chapter on maintenance. We have a complete chapter on damp and cracks and roof repairs. You will find a lot of information in here. I have some for sale. $250, and I have a card machine. Or you can e-wallet. So when you buy property, you all think you're covered now because the mandatory disclosure form has to be signed. I'm sorry, I'm going to pop your bubble. That property of Janet's that she walked away, on the first 13 items of the mandatory disclosure form, 6 of them were fraudulently declared. On the next, there were 3. So in total, 9 items were fraudulently declared by the seller. Let's have a look here, and this was the biggest issue on the building plans. You can see there's an existing outbuilding and they had proposed additions. On the left and the right hand side of this red section, you can see a light red section. That was not supposed to be built. So that's a gap where the sewage pipes were running and windows were going to be. But this is what actually happened. If you look at number 1, that door leading from the extended hobby room was not there because the wall was moved on top of where the arrow for number 2 points. So that the building was actually built on the boundary wall. Now where the arrow for number 2 points, you can see the sewer lines run there, and you're supposed to have windows there. That wasn't there. The bathroom, the hobby room toilet, is the one I showed you just now, where the sewage pipe went into the next bathroom, which says new helper's bathroom. And number 5 was the one where we had the wonderful waterproof plug. Number 6 was the problem one. On the plans, it is shown as a dog washroom, and the window opens into the passage. According to me, the council won't approve it. Maybe the architect knew something I didn't. But they had a student staying in there, which is a problem. Number 7 shows a BIC in the passage. Now that's fine, but in reality, it was a kitchen. And number 8 shows the other hobby room or hobby room supply area, but that was a kitchen with a window opening up into another kitchen. So these building plans were fraudulently submitted. They submitted these plans, but that is not what was on site. So it's a big problem. Now you use my report to negotiate or to walk away from the deal. In that case, Janet decided to walk away. Now, it depends on what I find, and it depends on your negotiating skills. But you can save from as little as 5,000 Rand on a deal to more than 500,000. I have had a client save 3.5 million when he bought an industrial complex because the gutters were leaking, and those industrial gutters are huge. They're like 500 millimeters in diameter, huge. The seller replaced the gutters, and he had asbestos roof sheets, and the seller replaced that. 3.5 million the seller did before he bought the property. So that is why you need an inspection report. So don't slip when you buy property, because you must remember, I look at things a lot differently than you do. So in my reports, I color code them. The red items are items which are broken, or they are a health or safety risk, or they are not done according to national building regulations. Those are the serious ones, and you must negotiate a reduction in price there. The blue items are the items which you have to attend to, otherwise they're going to become red items. For instance, if the gutters are blocked and you're not going to clean them, they're going to rust through and you're going to have to replace them. And then the green items are maintenance items. I'm passionate about property and about maintenance. And I walk into a house and I think, if only they clean the gutters, it will cost them 500 Rand to clean the gutters. Part of the gardener's wages and the water. And now the gutters must be replaced and it's going to cost 20,000 Rand. You know, if you do a little bit of maintenance, it can save save your property. And you must remember that if your property is well maintained, when you want to sell it one day, you will make money. You won't lose money. You won't be the bad property in the suburb that the investors want to buy for the cheapest possible price. So please, before you buy your next property, contact me and use my report to get the best price on your property. Thank you.